It's interesting when you said the word stuck. I'm thinking the word avoidant too. Like these kids become avoidant. They don't want to talk to you about it. They become almost like angry. Leave me alone. I'm never going to do it. When you have kids that are doing that, I say to the parents, you need to meet them where they're at, open up. And so when these families come for individual treatment or communicamp, I tell the parents like it's either day 1 or 2, and I'll say, all right, I want you to share with your child what you learned today and that you realize now that maybe you were asking them or saying things to them that made them feel uncomfortable, or that I didn't realize that when I was asking you to talk to Aunt Sally at the Thanksgiving dinner, what I needed to do was like talk to you about the bridge and where you were and come up with a plan together. And, maybe we needed to kind of play a game first. I realized by me asking you to talk when you may not have been ready, probably made you feel like, so you almost have to open up and just kind of be
Hmm.
vulnerable to these kids. And when you
Totally.
are, the kids come forward. It's like
Hmm.
a dance. The
Yeah.
more they're avoidant, the more they're unwilling. You need to say to yourself, whoa, am I too far ahead and pushing and pushing? I
Hmm.
need to come back and open the door and welcome them in by saying, whoa, I realize I might have been doing these things when I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a relationship. That's what you're describing. And a relationship is two people coming together and communicating and connecting, right? And so I think that's always what we want to focus on is connection, and especially with kids who have higher support needs, or we're working to help them with lagging skills or with whatever's going on that's kind of getting in their way. Sometimes that can become the focus of most of our time together, and we really want to build in time that's just for fun, that's just for chilling out. We want to really foster connection with our kids, no matter how old they are or what that connection looks like. It might be, sitting next to each other on the couch while you're both on your phones. That's fine, but like helping our kids always feel safe with us. That's also going to help us be more tuned to when those windows of opportunity are. They are going to feel more trusting. And I love what you said about vulnerability. I think that's a huge part of this equation.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I have a saying, comfort and connection precede communication. And
Mhm.
yes, connection, comfort is a reason, to connect with a peer, an area of interest. It's the same with parenting. You
Yeah.
need to connect. You need to have that loving bond, a way that you're both vulnerable. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. And
Yeah.
we're teaching our children it's okay to say, I made a mistake, or it's okay that you're sad. It's okay that something frustrated you. We can't act like we're robots, because that's what our children then feel guilty for having their own feelings.
Yeah.
And most of our kids are incredibly sensitive beings. So we're taking a big part of who these wonderfully sensitive individuals are, and we're actually saying, stop being sensitive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's
that's
exactly right.
terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say that my kid's now 21. In the past, maybe 10 years, I've really leaned into repairing, fessing up when I massively screw up as a parent, or I made a decision I really wish I could take back. Now I'm just like, oh my God, I totally blew that. And I'm so sorry. That's not how I wanted to speak to you, or that's not how I wanted this to go down. And I will say, it felt weird when I first started doing that, but now it's just how we are, and kind of we always grow closer after those moments. Like those conversations and then what happens next has created them an even deeper bond and connection. And so, yeah.
I'm going to bring something up that has nothing to do with what we're necessarily talking about, but I feel like I'm eager to hear what you're going to say. I remember hearing so often, you shouldn't be friends with your children. And
Mm,
that made my blood curdle, because I have raised 4 adults. My youngest are going to be turning 30. They're twins, and then 31 and 33. And I can tell you, I've been friends with my children,
mm,
but I've been their coach. I've been their mentor. And so I don't get that.
yeah.
And so I have a feeling you don't either.
Yeah, it's interesting as you say that. It's something I haven't thought a lot about, but of course I've heard that before. two things come up for me. One is I think of Dr. Ken Ginsberg's work, right? So he wrote his most recent book is called Lighthouse Parenting. And when I had him on my podcast, he said something to me about that we're not when we're parenting teenagers especially, we're not parenting for now. We're parenting so that when they're 60 and we're 80, they still want to hang out with us, right?
Yeah.
We're building deep relationships with these humans. I love that. And then the second thing is, yeah, like I make a point of telling my kiddo, you know, sometimes we'll be hanging out, just having a conversation. I'll be like, I really like you. Like, of course I love you. Like, that's a given. I love you, but I actually just really like hanging out with you, you know?
Yeah.
And that is really touching to my kiddo as well. And I think, you know, I think it depends on how you define friends, but I think of it as somebody that I really respect and want to spend time with and I feel safe with. And if that's the definition, then absolutely.
I always say I birthed my best friends.
Hmm.
And I feel so fortunate for that. And I remember when my little girl, who's now actually it's Dr. Jenna, many of our listeners know, but when she was like turning 5 or 6, she was turning 6, and we were on her like hanging out because I always had that hangout time at night with each of my kids. And she said, "Mommy, if you were 6, you'd be my best friend."
Oh,
And I always remembered that. We were laying in her bed and she told me that, and we're still best friends, like
that's so sweet.
no, I it's so real to me because
Hmm.
I am so I feel so fortunate, and I want our listeners to know it doesn't need to be a battle.
Yeah.
There's consequences to behaviors. One of my kids took a brownie from lunch once. There were consequences for that. Didn't pay for it. Maybe it was innocent on his part,
Hmm.
but yeah, got a detention. That wasn't
Hmm.
something I was getting him out of.
Hmm.
We talked about it. There's
Yeah.
consequences to taking a brownie without paying for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
saying you're going to be home at a certain time, you pull in the range, you pull them out. But it's about parenting. And I think
Hmm.
when you're dealing with kids that have additional challenges, it's even more important to connect with them and help them feel safe because the
Yeah.
world sometimes doesn't feel safe for them. And they have a hard time with kids and relationships on their own. So there's so much to talk about.